Almost every rider says that they need a strong core, but I feel like a lot of riders actually don't understand why they need a strong core. And it's one of those things that's just been passed on, passed on, passed on, and never really understood. Because if you reflect on your riding, very rarely do you actually get a sore core. You never come off the bike going, oh, my core feels really, really overworked. It's usually your legs or your arms or your breathing. So the problem is when riders try and get a sore core is they don't know what they're tackling, what they're trying to do, and they do the wrong exercises. When you do the wrong exercises and they start wasting their time training, when they're wasting their time training, then they get frustrated with what they're doing because they're like, why am I doing this stuff? Because it's not really working, not really helping. So what I'm going to do in this video is show you different types of core training and how they work and which ones are the most effective for your riding so you don't waste time doing stuff that doesn't work. So what I see for most riders is when they're doing core exercises and core training, I'll jump down here, is what will happen is they'll try and isolate the core. Okay, and what I mean by that, they'll do things like a lot of planking, okay, like this. They'll do exercises such as like sit-ups, okay, or even like, or yeah, start off with sit-up. You can do like butterfly sit-ups like these ones. Some riders will do these ones. Some riders will do like crunches, and there's all sorts of different stuff that you can use to be able to work on your core. The problem with that though is all of those exercises are just isolating my core. So like if I do say like a sit-up here with you guys now, right? What's happening when I come up is my legs really aren't doing any work, okay? And even my arms aren't doing any work apart from holding this camera. Everything's just going through my core. Now, if your goal is to get a six pack or to be able to go on stage for bodybuilding, then that's a great exercise for you. And the reason that's a great exercise is because it's going those types of exercises are going to put a lot of stress on your core and on those muscles and get them to grow and get them to get bigger. But for a lot of you, that's probably not your goal. Your goal is probably to perform better on the bike and be able to feel better. So what we need to make sure is that we're not training the core on its own, okay? Because when you go and ride, your core is not working separately to everything else, okay? When you go and ride, you've got your arms working, you've got your legs working, you've got your core working, you've got your lower back working, your upper back working, your shoulders, your arms, your calves, everything's working together as one system. That's why riding's so hard. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that when we're training, okay, we're getting in the gym or we're getting in the garage and actually using like some of this stuff, we want to make sure that we are doing stuff that's going to work. So what do we do? What we've got to use is what we call multi-joint strength training movements. Okay, so multi-joint strength training movements are movements which incorporate and which use multiple muscle groups in the body for one exercise. Okay, so the good way to distinguish the reason they're called multi-joint is because they use multiple joints in the one exercise. So I'll show you an example. If I was to grab my dumbbell here, okay, and I'm doing, say, a hammer curl, that's an isolation exercise. It's a single joint movement. The only joint that's moving is my elbow. And the problem with those types of exercises is when you go and ride, you don't have just one joint moving. Okay, you've got multiple joints moving. So we want to make sure we train the same way. So we can use exercises such as a back squat, for example. So you can, if you've got a bar and weights and a rack, okay, put your feet just about shoulder width, hips back, bend with the knees, okay? Hips back, bend with the knees. Hips back, bend with the knees. Hips back, bend with the knees. And the reason that that's such a great exercise for your core is because when I'm bending over and I'm squatting, I'll take you through it, move over a little bit so you can see. When I'm squatting and I'm bending over like this, in order to keep my back straight and keep the weight up, the thing that's helping me to support my back and support my body is my core. My core is working overtime to hold this weight on my back. Because if I don't have any core strength and I just flex over like this and I'm just going to collapse and I'm going to hurt myself. So if you're squatting properly, your core is actually working very, very hard anytime that you're doing a back squat, because that's when we're trying to keep our back straight and trying to keep the weight where it's supposed to be. The other exercise that you can use that will use your core a lot better or a lot more and transfer to the bike is a deadlift. So, a deadlift, we can start at about mid-shin, okay? Then we come up into a standing position. Mid-shin, standing position. Same thing, like when I'm in this position and my back's nice and straight, my core is working overtime now here to keep my back straight. If I let go of my core, then this is what happens, okay? So I'm keeping everything tight to be able to keep my back straight. And that's what we want. We want to be making sure that we're doing exercises that use our core with the rest of our body, okay, not on its own, because that's how we're going to get our exercises transferring best to the bike. Another one that you can use is you can do like a bent over row. So you can go from top of the knee into the belly button. Again, this is using my core a lot because I have to keep my back straight. If I let go of my core, this is what happens, and I can't do the exercise properly. So any exercise where I'm being challenged with keeping my back straight is using my core a lot more than, say, doing sit-ups or doing crunches, and it's going to be more effective for transferring over to the bike than doing those types of exercises. How do you implement this into your training? So to start off with, for these exercises, like for a deadlift, a squat, and a bent over row, start off with, say, like if you haven't done much training, start off with 4 sets of 10, okay? So do 4 sets of 10 of each exercise once a week. Do one session, do 4 sets of 10 squats. Another session, do 4 sets of 10 deadlifts. Another session, do 4 sets of 10 bent over rows. Start off with a moderate weight, okay? Start off with a weight that's maybe a 6 or 7 out of 10 effort-wise. Use that as a starting point. And then over the next 3 or 4 weeks, increase at each session just a little bit by 2.5 to 5 kilos, depending on which exercise you're doing. And if you can do that, you're going to get a lot more core strength that's actually going to transfer to the bike rather than just core strength that allows you to do more sit-ups or more crunches or more, V-ups at the gym, and doesn't really give you the benefit that you're looking for, which is getting out there and performing better on race day. If you'd like some help with this stuff or you'd like all your training mapped out, feel free to apply for my Faster Laps program below. Otherwise, hopefully you enjoyed this video.